Fix your onboarding now. In today's video, we're talking about how to do onboarding that allows you to continue a strong relationship with your client for the long term. The most important part of being in business is staying in business. And one of the best ways to do it is to retain clients as much as possible. I've worked with a couple of clients for almost 2 years now, and having a good onboarding will determine whether they stay with you the long term or the short term. So we're going to start with the pillars of onboarding. Then we're going to go through a case scenario of what I was able to do, some final tips and tricks where you're able to set the onboarding for success. And finally, I'll give you a secret tool that you can use and apply for your onboarding at the end of the video. So to get the base of what is onboarding and why should we do onboarding is we have to get the pillars of what will this entail. So we have 3 pillars for onboarding: clarity, communication, and engagement. So if you have clarity, what does clarity mean? It means you clearly state what are the expectations that each one of you will have. So and this is again something that you can use for your coaching clients. If you have an agency, you can use it for your clients that you will be servicing. If you have a bigger process or a bigger procedure, or even if you have a restaurant, all these pillars will also apply because they can be used in different scenarios. An onboarding process for a restaurant is welcoming someone into your restaurant, seating them in, giving them the menu, and giving them like the first starters. That will be like a good onboarding process. In an agency would be, yes, getting to know the client, setting up the expectations, signing the contract, starting payments, and then start the servicing or the first 2 weeks of onboarding process. And for a coach would be the first session, the second session, the discovery call, the onboarding packet or the onboarding kit that will allow you for the client to have all the tools necessary for them to succeed. Clarity is clear expectations, timelines. You will also have what does this include versus what it doesn't include. Because I've had moments where people ask like, is this part of the package? And if I don't set this correctly at the beginning, they might assume that this happens further down the end, and then it can be a loss of expectations, right? So we don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. We want to underpromise, set what are the minimum expectations that you're willing to complete. Communication goes into setting how are you going to communicate. So setting the expectations of how to communicate, when will you communicate, which scenarios will lead to communication. So in which cases we will have to meet to talk about something. Those are the important parts where it comes to communication because it's the rules of engagement. You want to have clear communication with the client. But imagine back in a restaurant, if the waiter was talking with you all throughout the meal, you wouldn't be able to eat. So you would not be having a good experience if you were talking all the time. And it also happens that if you're talking all the time with your client or if you're talking all the time with your agency, it breaks the system because the product, it's not the conversation and the relationship. Yes, it's good to have a relationship, but you don't need to be talking all the time. Okay, and finally, engagement. And this is a two-way streak. So for example, again, in a restaurant, if the person doesn't eat the food, you cannot force the client to eat, and they will not have a good experience because they're not able to try the food. So here it talks about involvement. Make sure that the client is involved. Make sure that the client wants to participate in the product, in the conversation, in the service. And make sure that they are committed. So commitment. And the specific goals that you want to achieve together in the client service provider relationship. And this is the pillars of the onboarding. Every good onboarding will have all of these levels in a certain degree. But the more you're aware of how to give a powerful onboarding experience, the more you will be able to really satisfy the client at the beginning, middle, and end of your relationship. Now I'm going to share what is my own onboarding process that I use with my agency to onboard new clients, especially VIP clients that purchase $20 to $100 a month packages from me, and how can I service them correctly, and it allows me to stay with them longer. So again, this is a testing process, but I've seen that the more and the better that I treat my clients at the front end, the more that they can stay with me, and the more they can understand what's going to take for us to succeed in a relationship. Because it's first a lot of money, second, you're already servicing the clients in a really high degree, and we want to do a lot of things together. So it's an investment on both sides. My team and I are really committed to make things happen, and the client is excited to talk about with us, but we don't want to burn the relationship quickly. We don't want to make it the mistake of over-promising and under-delivering, which has happened to me. So right now, this is the best and final stage of my onboarding process so far that I'm gonna show it with you. So the first step is meeting and discovery. In this case, what I will do is I would meet with them, so a meeting where I find out goals, vision, offer, avatar, bandwidth, goals, vision, offer, avatar, bandwidth, the current system that they're using to post on social media or to run their offers online, and their objectives. Okay, so all of this happens in the first meeting and discovery, and it's super important that we're able to tailor in everything that they actually want to do or who they are as much as possible at this beginning of the meeting, because all of the other steps build upon each other. Okay? Step number 2, final thing here, and before they actually start working with me, they will sign contract and agreements. I've seen that the best clients have no issue on this part. The clients that don't sign contracts, the clients that don't really focus about these things are the ones that sometimes want to ask for refunds or do things that are not so good for your companies. Make sure that if you have contracts or if you have a service that's high ticket or something like that, that you make them sign the contracts, because that's the most important part. Logins. Okay, what's going to happen with the logins? This is confidential information, so this is 2FA verification. This is also setting up systems on the back end with my team. My team has now been trained into, okay, this is what happens when a new client comes in. You will have to do a brand kit. We will have to gather, for example, testimonials. And that will be the gist of what happened with the logins information. Because this is the biggest moment of trust, because they're basically delivering their most private information to you. And it's not a long process, but it's a really delicate process that if you take care of it, it's going to be really good, but you could mess up a lot of things. You could block the client out of the account, or you can do something that it's not correct. So you have to take this with a lot of care and patience. In the testing phase right now, what's happening with my clients is I share them with design ideas. We elaborate different email templates. We would also have the different posting schedules and the first approval levels of the client. Because here you will have to gather the approval of the client before we actually start launching and before we actually start posting content. Because what has happened sometimes is, okay, I create something and I post directly on social media, but they say, no, actually, this is not the style that I want. Oh, actually, no, we want to do it differently. Oh, no, let's actually go back and let's start again. So this is super important, because the more that we have the approval of the client, the more we can continue further down the line, because a content creation, once you start it, it's like a machine that can keep going, but it can keep going on the wrong direction or in the correct direction. But the client needs to have the commitment, and be engaged, one of the pillars that we were talking earlier, because if that doesn't happen, we cannot help. That's the most important part. We are creating all of these systems, and of course, again, here in the logins, it's also going to be rules of communication. So we need to know when can we communicate with you. We need to know that you're responsive. We need to know that you're interested actually making this happen. So these, as you can see, is like, we know your vision, your goals. Now we know your information. Now we want you to approve all the content. And then, just then we start with the launching phase. So here, of course, we start posting. We also have reporting. Here we also launch the offers. And we also enter a phase that's around 1 month or 2 months of testing and evolving, because the client might approve something, but there's always subject to change. So this back and forth always comes through as long as the client is not really settled on a brand identity, or he says, no, this is what I want, just approve it once and let's keep it going, which are the most let go type of clients. And we can have certain back and forth once in a while, but those clients are the ones that actually grow the most because they allow our system to work. Social media is a lot about consistency, testing, but you need to be doing both and in bigger qualities in order for you to get the correct results. So this is an example of the onboarding process. And as you can see, I'm trying to be as meticulous as possible in every single phase, because this will also help my current team members that are watching this, but it will also help the clients to understand what does it take for them to actually be successful once they start entering and working with us. If it was just like a plug and play, it will be super stock type of content. I could take in a content and just like repurpose it or start working with it myself, and we would not need so much of these systems. But the more tailored approach a coach wants, the more sophistication we need to add into the onboarding process. And let's finish off with some practical tips. For onboarding. And I know might be one of the most boring videos that you will ever see, but this is actually where the gold gets done, because setting the expectations, again, will help you have a better relationship in the future. And a good relationship, it's always more money. Okay? If you are a coach, for example, and you want to have a better onboarding experience, what if you had a welcome package? A welcome package could include the agreement. What are the timelines that you will probably have with your client? What's the best way of communication? Some extra resources that you might have, other books, other tools, other elements that will allow your client to feel like, oh my God, this is a really cool experience right from the get-go. And when you see all the big coaches, they always give you PDFs, they always give you guides, they always give you extra training, they always give you bonuses that could come in this welcome package. How can you make a personalized system of communication? So to close it out, we have the pillars, we have also the example, case study, and the tips. And as I've shared, in the pillars, you have clarity, you have communication, and you also have engagement. Make sure that the client knows what he's going to enter, make sure that they know how to communicate with you, and make sure that they are involved in the process with you. Then the case study, the one that I outlined. So we have the starting phase, the logging phases, the testing phases, and the launch phases. And finally, you have some tips and tricks to make sure that the experience is super powerful, super engaging for your client. And I have a special surprise for you for the ones that actually stayed until the end of the video. You can click the link below and you'll be able to download a welcome package that I've done specifically for coaches and life coaches who want to learn about marketing and want to learn about social media, that has a questionnaire, that has a sort of schedule, and it also has which has three things in this welcome package. An onboarding checklist of what to do for your clients. It has an agreement that you can give to your clients. You have to modify it, and then you can send it to the clients for them to sign, because it's a confidential agreement. And you also have a questionnaire that will allow your client to actually fill out all the questions necessary and give you more information about them before you start actually working with them. So you will have more tools to understand who this person is. Okay? And with that, we're set. Thank you so much for taking the time today, for watching the entire video. I'm Angel Martin Cordova. I'm owner of Astros and Marketing. If you need support growing your social media as a coach, let me know. book a call in the links below, and see you on the next one.